Welcome back to another episode of Harmonious at Lunch, the show that fuels your business success. I'm Brandon Gano, your host and guide through the world of harmonious business growth. Today, we're unlocking powerful strategies with industry experts to help your business thrive. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or executive, you are in the right place. Join me and our incredible guests today on the journey to clarity, growth, and success. It is time to revolutionize your approach to business. Let's dive in with another episode of Harmonious at Lunch. Welcome back to some more bite-sized business advice. We're talking about building small business value through automation. Everybody's favorite word, right? We love automation. We love AI and tech, and I know nothing about all of those things. And that's why we always have guests on this show. But we're going to talk about how do you add more value to not only your business, but add value to your clients, up-level your service, all of these things. Got a cool conversation lined up. And I have an amazing guest to help me do that, Peter Wassmer. Before we go any further, Peter, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Hey, Brandon, thank you very much for having me. I'm stoked to be here.
So I hinted at it. I am a tech genius. I know a lot of things about automation. No, I just totally lied to you. So well, what I do know is all about customer service and building a more efficient organization. I think that's really what we're going to spend the majority of today's conversation talking about. So why don't we start? Let's start where you are now, because I think you have a really unique company. And then I want to hear your history too. So tell me about your company, ProValet, and what you guys are doing right now.
Yeah, thanks. So ProValet is a platform that automates business processes for small and medium-sized service businesses. What we automate is we automate scheduling, dispatching, we automate the invoicing process, and we automate customer payment collection. On top of that, we automate customer communications, which has this really cool result of keeping your customers informed and generally delighted because they actually know what's happening between the two of you in your service. We're dynamically focused on what I call regular interval service companies. So pool service business, lawn care, pest control, home watch, home cleaning, any business that has sort of a regularity to the delivery of a service. That's really those are the businesses that we're really focused on, and initially really tightly focused on the pool service business as a whole. So, yeah, go ahead.
I think it's just so cool. We were talking before we started recording, and these are traditionally, and I don't want to overgeneralize here, but these are traditionally the businesses that have very poor customer communication. You go read some of their reviews on Google, and it's hit or miss. You know, they never got back to me. I never got a quote. They never told me they were on their way. They put a stick through my windshield. All the horror stories out there come from this kind of business. And there's such an opportunity in the marketplace to just up-level that customer service and that communication a little bit. That's why I think what you're doing is fantastic, but it begs the question, where did this idea come from? Because it's a great idea, but I'm sure there's a reason that you decided to build a company around this.
Yeah. So actually, as a customer of service businesses, I came up with the idea because I was really frustrated with the lack of communication. So whenever we talk to companies that take us up on this, there are three things that generally most of them are looking to do, right? They're looking to improve efficiency, drive more revenue, and talk to their customers in a better way, right? So that was my situation. Several years ago, I was walking around. I live in Florida. We have a pool. I was walking around the pool at night, and the light's supposed to be on, and it wasn't on. So I fished around, called up the service company, left a voicemail into some black box, and didn't think of it again until 30 days later when I was walking around the pool and I looked and I saw the light was on. I'm like, oh, great. Maybe there was a short and it fixed itself or something like that. Well, no, that wasn't the case. I got to the mailbox the next day and there was a big fat invoice in there. So somebody did get my voicemail message. Somebody did come to actually repair it. And they did actually bill me a big heavy amount in order to get it fixed. Now, look, these are really good guys. I like them a lot. And I happily paid the bill, but it dawned on me, hey, look, there's got to be a better way to, understand what's happening. I want to know when you show up, oh, I just want to know, right? Like I might be traveling. I might want to know, like, yeah, the pool got done, the lawn got done. So what we did was we created this Uber-like communication tool that goes on top of anybody's company where, you have a traditional dashboard. You've got your technician who's got the app that has their full dispatch list for the day. But we also have a homeowner app. And it's on the homeowner app where all the magic really happens, because this is where that communication goes. It can go as far and as intimate as you want, or not, right? You can use it or not. And if you use it, you'll get notifications that tell you that the service started. The service has been completed. Here's an invoice. So you can do anything on this homeowner app that facilitates that great two-way communication, including requesting service, because this is one of the things that customers really want. They just want to be heard. You talk to anybody who's in business, and the most important thing that you can do is make sure you have ears open to hear what your customers are saying. Well, a lot of companies say, well, I've got phone, email, and text. I think that's terrific, but now you have 3 different places that you've got something to go back and recover and try to attach to the person that called or emailed or texted. So in the ProValet world, the homeowner app becomes that inbound tied communication level where a customer can actually type up a request. They can add a video to it. They can add a picture to it to help flesh out whatever that problem was. So now you're not leaving a voicemail that says, hey, my pool pump is making a funny noise. It sounds like a gunk, a gunk, a gunk. Now you actually have you have a video that lands on the guy's dashboard with audio. He can diagnose the problem 95% of the time from about a 10-second video and dispatch somebody to go repair it. Or create an estimate, actually, is another cool thing that we actually have built into the system. So right from these service requests, you can take the action necessary to serve your customer base. So it works out really quite well, including the invoicing and payment side of it, which these companies absolutely love. They're getting paid. The statistic we just looked at was 70% of monthly and repair invoices are getting paid within 7 days. So we're accelerating the collection of dollars in a way that most service companies are currently not doing that. And when you automate the invoicing, now you're not spending time on QuickBooks trying to go through and figure out what your invoices are and pushing the button for each one to send them out. They just happen automatically. And that's saving a tremendous amount of time. By the way, we're also integrated with QuickBooks Online. So if it happens in ProValet, it shows up in QuickBooks. If it happens in QuickBooks, it'll show up in ProValet. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I just have to go back. I mean, the pool light story was the worst story I've ever heard. Like, how do you just show up?
You can see the bill,
a price, a time, anything, a house number, even. Like,
yeah,
it's just that was crazy, but kind of painted the picture for the real need for the software.
Yeah.
But also, like what you're saying, I also see a lot of these businesses, they forget to bill because they got so much going on. The person who's in charge of billing is probably the same person writing estimates, answering the phones, answering the emails, responding to the texts, sending out the billing in mail. And a lot of it just gets forgotten. So it's more of just, it sounds like just operational efficiency, which, we're all about here.
Right.
But I'm curious, when you first start talking to people, potential users for the platform, give me a sense of what their business looks like. Like what does their day-to-day look like? Where are those stress points where you can then identify like, oh, if you just do this, like 80% of your operational stress will evaporate overnight?
Well, it happens in a couple of different places. I think, so for a lot of service companies, a lot of it happens actually at the delivered end of the service, where they've got technicians who are troubled with following directions. And so by virtue of using the app and the way our system is set up, not any one pool service business, as an example, has a way of delivering the service the same way. Every one of them does it differently. So we built our platform so that you customize your service orders in a way that you want your service delivered. And it's a very easy process for a technician to look at his phone and go, okay, I did that. I measured that. I added that. And here's a picture and I'm done. And so there's also a sense of accomplishment in it, in that whatever was requested was completed and done. And now somebody feels like, okay, I completed something. And by the way, we let them know how many jobs they've completed, how many they have left. We give them an expected time of when their day will be done. All this sort of like predictive behavior data that helps somebody feel like they're a part of something different than just simply like, hey, run off in the truck and get the job done and come back at the end of the day with a bunch of pieces of paper with your scribble on it, right? So we're helping companies transform from pencil and paper, maybe an Excel sheet, maybe QuickBooks, and putting that all under one umbrella. You know, we have done, I'll call it, you know, you've seen the show on TV with some of the better chefs, and they do restaurant rescues. We've done pool service rescues before, where exactly what you talked about was the case, where, you know, basically it looks like a bomb went off. You know, there's paper everywhere. People have not been billed. You know, the company has 3 or 4 or 5 different technicians out running around doing the service, and it looks like things are okay, but it's a train wreck in the back room, man. It's just, and so we help pull all of that together so that somebody can look at their entire business on one screen and then effectively create the actions necessary to drive the revenue, collect the revenue, and drive additional service levels that aren't being, they would not have otherwise had.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I also have to think about the flip side of it, from the customer's perspective. I mean, have you had stories of people getting, you know, increased reviews, 4 or 5-star reviews, just because now their communication is more transparent and proactive rather than reactive or non-existent?
You know,
People are growing their companies because of it.
Yeah, it's a great question. I'd like to surmise that the answer is yes, but we haven't done any KPI study on improved Google reviews because somebody's using ProValet. It is actually an ad strategy that we were talking about earlier this week to see if we could drive business by asking homeowners who have pools, hey, you know, does your pool company use ProValet? Here's why you might like it. Because anybody that I've spoken to who owns a pool says, I'd love to have that. I wish my company would have that. So we think that maybe driving marketing from the grassroots, which is the genesis of how this thing came up in my experience, maybe that's a way to actually get people to turn on and use it more often.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. I remember in the last company that I owned, one of the things that was a priority to me, very similar to your story, was this industry was just terrible at communication. And I said, all right, if I'm going to start a business here, it's really all I'm going to focus on is the customer experience. Anybody can produce the product or fulfill the service, but very few manage communication very well. And I invested in a software that did exactly that. It was transparent for the customer, so they didn't have to call, say, hey, what's the status? What's my expected delivery date? And our reviews went through the roof, and for doing nothing. That's why I asked that question. But I also saw more and more people telling their friends, telling their neighbors, other business partners, that it was just easier to work with us than any other company. And I'm like, we're not doing anything different. I just happen to have this software platform that they, for some reason, aren't using.
I love that. That's a great foundational platform for me to go back to our marketing guys and tell them, look, this is really the way this can work quite well. And the customers that do use it they're quite pleased with it. I will say this, if you want to take on technology and build it from the ground up, it can be a daunting task. It took us about a year longer than we wanted to actually come to market. So be prepared.
I would never advise anybody to do that either. That was a software I had just purchased. I paid for it. Another company. So yeah, that's a whole different animal. So tell me about that real quick before I let you go, because that's obviously the elephant in the room, right? Is you have this idea, and then you have to create a software around it, make sure it works, and then you have to sell it to people and get people to use the platform and buy into it. So number of different steps here involved.
Right.
And that's just on the surface. But what was that process like from when you had that first thought you found your pool light working when you didn't expect it to be working, into today you have an app and you're trying to get more users on it. What was that process like?
Well, it's been an evolution that's been really marked by input from the marketplace, and that's one of the best ways to ever, to build a company, is to make sure that not only are you solving a problem, but that the solutions are coming from the marketplace. So from the very beginning, even when we had our MVP, we invested in going to pool shows. As I said, the platform is agnostic. It does not care if you're a pool service, home watch, lawn care, home cleaning company. It doesn't matter. But we focused on pool service, as I said, because it's accessible and it's one of these. It's a beautiful market to take software into, because there are actually other software businesses in there. So there's a good way to actually sharpen your saw by talking to customers who are trying other software platforms out. So we went to pool shows. We talked to a lot of different pool companies. We advertised. We had people come in and try the product, and it unfortunately failed. The very first guy that took us up on it, a great guy here in Florida, and I told him how it was going to work. When we got on the phone, he ready to sign up, and I told him how it was going to work, and he says, "Now let me see if I get this straight. As soon as I put all my customers into the system, you're going to send them an email that invites them to use this customer app?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Well, I don't want that." So, "Well, what do you mean you don't want that? Don't we want to automate that?" He says, "No, I don't. I want to be able to selectively invite them." I'm like, "Oh, all right." Well, we had to go back to the drawing board and break that and then rebuild. So it's one story from the very beginning, a number of years ago when that happened. But that's been the way it's been going along the whole way, where people tell us what they really need to run their business better, and we integrate that into the solution. So,
yeah, that's awesome. And I'm curious about the future. I always like to ask, where you've had this idea, it's growing, you have the validation, you're making the tweaks. Where do you see it going? Where do you want to take it? Because obviously you have a passion about helping these small businesses improve their communication, improve their operations. Where do you want this app to end up in the next 3 to 5 years?
I want any service company across the country to say, of course I use ProValet. Why would I use anything else? Why would I use anything else to run my service business? So my goal is for ProValet to be the Shopify for service businesses. Now, anybody who doesn't know what Shopify is, it's probably the number one platform to build an e-commerce site on, and it's infinitely customizable to reflect your brand, but all the tools that they employ in there help you run your business. That's what we want to do. We allow you to come in and customize your business, your workflows, your way, and then deliver that service to your customers with all the tools in the background. Automating the scheduling, automating the invoicing. You want to collect in advance, great. You want to collect in arrears, great. However you want that to, how your service should be delivered, you do that through ProValet, but you're setting the switch and forgetting about it and going to run your business. That's how this operates. So we really want to be known for being the premier choice for any service business as a platform to run their business.
I love it. And the topic of the episode was how to increase your business value through automation. And that's really the end result for people is, we've mentioned a number of times the traditional service-based business is largely run through pencils and papers and it's disorganized and they honestly have no value. But when you create a system that's duplicatable and anybody can plug into, now you have something that's scalable and sellable. So
yeah, and that's the one thing that we talk to companies about is, now you have data, and the data is not disjointed in 3 or 4 or 5 different places. It's all in one place. So if you have as an example, we give customers what I like to say a 360-degree view of their customers just by looking at one page on ProValet. So they can see all the service history. They can see, in the case of pools, your weekly chemical readings and check for trends. They can see service requests that came in, anything that happens with that customer, it's on one page. So we're really pleased with the way that it's come along, and we're we're beginning to add in some components of AI, conversational AI, that should be, I think, really transformational as a front-running option for those companies that want to employ some way to collectively deal with service requests that come in 24/7, right? So we can set up a company with one of our inbound agents, and that inbound AI agent will actually go into our system, into the back end of their platform, and create service requests. So you don't have to have somebody playing secretary. What we find in most of these businesses, there's a person who does bookkeeping and maybe like a lot of administrative work, and they collect phone calls and emails and texts. And so we would take that part of that business and turn it into an AI agent very inexpensively, which allows the person who's either the bookkeeper or maybe they're actually out cleaning pools or doing some other service, that allows them to generate more revenue than spend the time on managing requests.
That's awesome. That's super cool. I'm excited to follow the journey.
Thank you.
I tossed your website on the screen here, provalet.io. It's wherever you're watching and listening. It's down in the show notes below if you want to go check out more about Peter. I can't thank you enough for being here and sharing your story, Peter. This was a great episode.
Bren, thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
For those of you watching and listening, wherever you are, make sure you subscribe. We want to keep bringing you this daily dose of mostly nonsense, but a little bit of wisdom too, on how to grow your business and get you to the next level every single day of the week. So make sure you subscribe. We'll see you on tomorrow's episode of Harmonious at Lunch. Thanks for being here.